Hi, I'm Sarah Noble, your host for the Modern Day Intuitive Podcast. For over 25 years, I've been on a spiritual journey, searching, learning, expanding, and growing. I've traveled the world, led by my heart, on a quest to know myself so that I can support others. This podcast was created from my deep desire to help you connect with your intuition and to inspire you to create a life where the impossible becomes possible and you live into your sacred dreams and desires. Thanks for being here and enjoy the show. Hello, my loves. Welcome to the show today. Our guest today is Jen Mons, and Jen is here wondering how she can simplify to amplify and welcome more ease and flow. And I just love the way that she put that. And what our call takes us on is how being resourced from the earth is so important. Experiencing your divinity inside your body, creating from what you love, not what you should be doing, our projections and owning our power, how your uncomfortable places are your deepening points. Your patterns are here to teach you about yourself, knowing versus believing. Your level of inner coherence creates your outer reality, taking responsibility for your creative power and really owning your power in that place. And so a lot of beautiful things in this call for us to explore today. And I do want to share a few things about Jen with you because Jen is doing beautiful work in the world. She's a speaker, an author, a coach, a mentor, and an energy alchemist. She works with purpose-driven women ready to redefine excellence, leadership, success, and wealth. And she guides women from hustling to alignment, overwhelmed to overflowing, and doubt to clarity and confidence. You can find Jen at jenmons.com. And she's also offered us this beautiful gift of what she calls her Prosperity Roadmap bundle. And there's a link to Jen in the show notes and also to her gift to you. So enjoy my reading with Jen. Hi, Jen. Welcome to the podcast. How can I help you today?
Hi, I am looking for guidance in my business. And how can I simplify to amplify? Welcome more ease and flow, but continue expanding in all the ways so that it feels aligned and in joy and ease.
I love simplify to amplify. Can I tell you, I got a big smile with that expression or that saying.
Thank you.
Yeah. And what you're showing me is the lower half of your body and this sense of grounding and really letting yourself live inside your body and be connected to the earth. You're showing your first and second chakras and that whole area around there and roots growing down into the earth. So as I say that, what comes up for you?
Well, it's interesting. I just led a meditation yesterday with exactly that visualization. I was leading a meditation of the chakras, and I started with the root chakra, actually reaching down into the earth, and was speaking to just the idea of just being resourced from the earth in ways that are natural, that feel good, that are nurturing. And just the reminder, and it's been a goal. Like I journal every day and meditate, and it's what I'm moving back into, is moving more in my body and prioritizing. I think we go in cycles of where we're expanding, like we might be expanding spiritually or mentally or emotionally or physically. And what I'm feeling is that maybe the cycle I'm in, although I've been in the physical expansion, maybe it's just really calling this embodiment piece of really honoring the physical body.
Yeah, it feels really beautiful, like just feeling you like this, grounded, resourced, and connected in. What I understand and know about energetics, running spiritual energy, is that we live in a human body, and therefore we are here to experience our divinity inside of our body. And so the more you are grounded and you lean into this resource that's available for you, the bigger and deeper spiritual experience you can actually have because you are inside your body.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of our spirituality and a lot of beautiful things when we leave our body and when we connect with different beings. And yet there is this magic that happens when we craft our spirituality inside us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm feeling like, this call from you, from your body. It's like wanting to know spirit inside you, not just like something outside of you.
Yes.
So with this idea of creating flow and ease and less hustle, alignment, where do you spend a lot of your time in your business?
Creating.
And are you creating things that you love?
Well, I love creating.
Oh, tell me more. Play with this. I like this little nuance space.
Right. It's sort of the shadow and the gift, right? Like, I have a capacity which I'm learning to get clarity on, the capacity to create. I have a capacity to learn. I have a capacity to transmute and transform, and also knowing that the capacity of doing in my life has actually led me many years ago, 16 and then 8 years ago, to 2 health crises. So finding a new way of not playing small, but also allowing that capacity to be aligned. And so when I say I love to create, like, it's that balance of like just being a really good learner and transmuter and becoming a teacher of what you learn, and the ability to have ideas and to create and generate ideas. And also noticing that just because you can doesn't mean you should. You don't have to. So am I creating what I love? I mean, that's a really good question, because I love to create. And then at the same time, it's not creating from a place where I always feel really grounded in my creation. So I do love what I create. I wouldn't create something that I didn't love. But if you look at what I create, I mean, how does one person create so much is kind of, I guess, where that's coming from.
So as I track that, the question would be, well, what's the motivation, like the real motivation underneath? You love to create, you know, you are creating, but there's this sense that the place that you're creating from is out of alignment.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is. It's acceptance. There's a core wound around rejection, for sure.
So as you create and put more out there, you are accepted and loved?
No, it's more like, it's like getting clarity on that healthy boundary of, really what I'm not available for. Because I know that I have a core wound around rejection. I also don't want to be the person that makes somebody feel rejected. Although I know that that's an ego thing. Like, that's, everybody chooses how they respond, but it's still, I can see how that's guiding my decision.
Yeah, well, what you're talking of right there is projection, right? So because you have this wound of rejection, you're going to imagine that by some action or lack of action on your part, someone else will feel rejected. But you really have no idea how they're going to feel. Neither are you really responsible for how they're going to feel. So that projection is really you. Like, they're just giving you this beautiful opportunity for you to be with that part of yourself that feels rejected.
Right. And it's definitely uncomfortable.
Yeah. What's so beautiful about those uncomfortable places is they are deepening points.
Mm-hmm.
They hold what you wish for. So you are going to find inside of that rejection wound all that you are looking for somewhere else in your life. Ease lives inside there. Flow lives inside there. Amplification, alignment. When you turn and you face that tender part of you, you will find everything in there.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening for you?
So to me, that means, how do I accept rejection? That's what's coming up.
Do you have an answer to that?
No.
Maybe another way to look at it would be, how can you love the part of you that feels that it's rejected?
I don't know if I know what that part is at the moment.
Well, that uncomfortable feeling is the gateway, because sensation, right? That part inside of us, it's the portal into knowing more of you, being more deeply connected with yourself, like turning in towards those uncomfortable feelings rather than trying to maybe rationalize them away or ignore them or create something instead of feeling it. It's actually just being and feeling uncomfortable and seeing where it leads you.
Yeah. And I think what's coming up is, it's easy for me to see the things that I don't like. And I can say, if someone were to show me those qualities about myself, I wouldn't get defensive. I think the former version of me did. So now I'm at a stage where I'm like, okay, I can see how you would think that. And I can truly see that what someone else says that I may not like within myself might be true. So that's growth to get to that point. And then there's the, can I really take ownership of the things that, it's kind of that balance of, am I not available for projection of other people, or do I take ownership maybe of things people say that might be true? I'm really just, I mean, it sounds silly, but I'm really just finding that, what is really my truth? Because for so long, I assumed I was actually wrong. I discovered I was a people pleaser. And then now I'm like, okay, I'm not available for something that doesn't feel true. But it's like finding that balance of, well, maybe it's actually in the middle a little bit.
Yeah, as you're talking, right, you're still showing me this really just solid foundation of who you are. Like, you're very supported and held. And then as you're talking, it's this third chakra power center that is, what's the word? It may be confused is the right word. Like, it's about boundaries.
Yeah.
And it's about loving people enough, like, or just loving them so much that you really don't, it doesn't really matter what they think about you or feel about you or say about you. Like, that's none of your business. That's all their stuff. How are you owning your power? Right? Like you said, truth, like the truth of you. And inside of that is your power. When you are knowing the deep knowing of you, you're in your inner authority. You're in your power. Anybody can say and do anything. That has nothing to do with you. That's their own journey. And it's you knowing this, like really feeling it in all your body.
Yeah. It's like knowing it is one thing, but believing it down to the core is what there's room to expand into. And I have those moments. I definitely have them, but I feel like when there's patterns, I'm like, okay, what is this here to teach me? Like when it's like, something that happens repetitively, then I'm like, okay, what am I missing?
Well, I love what stands out for me and what you said is the nuance of these two words, knowing and believing. Because believing is, to me, very malleable, right? Our beliefs. There's a quote, and I've said it on this podcast before because I just love it. It says, have your beliefs, just don't believe in them. Because they contain us, right? Everything is a belief. Everything is a story that we live inside of. And so the more we can clear away the beliefs and clear away the stories, we land in the true essence of ourselves, which is, in sense, our true knowing. So the way that you were saying it is like, you know it, but you don't necessarily believe it all the way to your core, which is beautiful, because if you already know it, that means your body holds the template to know this truth. It's just your beliefs that are keeping you from this knowing.
Yeah. That feels true. Feels good to know that it's that way rather than the other way. Whatever that means, but it's like, okay, yeah, okay, that feels good. That feels better than I thought.
Yeah, like another way to look at that, right, is like the idea of God or spirit. Like people say, oh, I believe in God. And for me, the statement is more like, I want to know God.
Yeah.
I don't want to just believe in a God, because then that's open to interpretation from any which way a story wants to come in or someone else's experience. But when I know God, when I know spirit, that's personal to me. Nobody can change that or take that away from me. It's mine. And that's the space that we're in right now. Like your system knows this. It's just hidden by these beliefs. And my love, that's why we're here, right? We start out as these beautiful souls that then grow up in a world where we just become conditioned. We become civilized. We become a mold of what we should be. And then we reach a certain point in our life where we're like suffocating by all the roles and costumes and conditioning. And we then begin the journey of taking it all off and stepping outside of the conditioning and bringing unconscious beliefs to consciousness and coming back to that essence, that truth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that.
So where would you like to go from here?
Well, I'm sensing like a little bit of a heart wall, like a little bit of a protection in the knowing is what I would like, but also even at the belief level that there's just sort of this like fear of attracting unhealthy relationships, not in my home, but really more just in general, like through my work, through like clients, through collaborations, and that if I'm aligned, they will feel healthy, but there's really this like, there's resistance.
When you say resistance, help me understand that a little more.
So I can feel it in the solar plexus. I can feel it in the heart. It's like that remembering of just learning to trust myself, my inner wisdom more than others. And we can say that, but then do we know that we'll do that? So so there's a lack of trust. The word lack comes up, and because I've in the past didn't make wise choices in trusting people, specifically when it came to my business. So then I start to look at like, how was I out of alignment to attract this scenario? And I immediately take responsibility when, I'm learning also to not overly take responsibility for how other people show up. And so there's really just this invitation to continue expanding into my own self-responsibility, leaning into trust and just trusting, and just really like a desire, like a want to just really co-create with and be surrounded by people with good intentions and committed to their inner work and committed to the evolution of the collective consciousness. Just being in that energy, is that possible? Do we actually have to go through all these struggles and challenges to get really that deep inner wisdom of the next level of expansion? If that makes sense. It feels like every level of expansion for me, which I call a soul upgrade, comes after something really challenging. And is it possible that I can relax more and continue to evolve and grow without going through hardship? Because it seemed I've been in this space of curiosity around that for like 20 years.
Yeah. And I hear and understand everything you're saying. And in my experience, that what changes, right? Everything is created from inside us. We are incredible divine creators. So the reality that we see outside of ourselves all comes from inside. Everything outside of us is neutral or someone else's journey. It's the meaning that we give to life. As we become more in our own power and authority, I have experienced that less and less things are created outside of me, because the state of being inside of me is more coherent. So if I'm more coherent on the inside, meaning I have had the courage to look at all my wounding and everything that I create, I recognize it's a gift for me. It's to my advantage, right? Life is always loving us, even in those hard moments. It's this gift for us to be more coherent. So then when we have this level of coherence inside of us, that's the reality we see outside of us. So in my life, it's been a huge motivator because the more inside I feel settled, I feel in like living in my body, right? And living in a conscious way as opposed to having my unconscious run my life, which is like the triggering and the emotional outbursts and whatever the things are that take me away from my center and kind of scatter me out into the world. That scattering is what creates situations in my life. So the less I scatter in moments when things happen, the less there's turbulence outside in my life. And that being said, I do believe that we come here as souls with a specific idea of what we want to get out of this life. And we are going to choose the life with the possibilities inside of that life to teach us what we want to know. Like we're going to create things that will help us with that. So some of it, I think we have some control over. And then some of it, I think that there's going to be some unknown and mystery in how that happens. But the more that we turn to love, the more that we turn to the shadow, the more that we create a higher state of vibrance and coherence inside of our body, the less of the fallout there will be. And even if there is fallout, we have the capacity to walk through it differently.
Yeah, I see that. And then I see coming full circle to where we started, like it's sort of this space between exactly what you said, like wanting alignment and ease and flow, and yet wondering if it's possible and thinking that growth has to come from hard things.
Yeah, and it doesn't, right? Like if you create it that way, it will, right? Like if you go out into the world and you believe that you are going to have unhappy clients, you're going to have collaborations that don't work with people you can't trust, you for sure will. Like, because you're the one who's creating that with your belief. Yet if you go out into your life and you imagine and dream of all the incredible collaborators that are just waiting to work with you, that have amazing ideas, that are also committed to growing through ease and alignment, you're going to meet them because you create it that way. And that's the powerful place to come from, right? The other way, it's disempowering. It's giving your power away to other people, to situations, to circumstances. It says that you don't have any control. Well, I don't like the word control, but because we don't, or, but you are a creator. So you do have say in the co-creation of your life.
Yeah.
So owning that and I love that you use the word responsibility, because I do feel that taking responsibility for the fact that we are creative beings and that what happens to us is from us, there is a beauty in that. There's an expansion. There is so much possibility that's created from us stepping out of victim, stepping out of being defined by circumstances and saying, no, I'm unavailable for those types of relationships anymore. I learned what I need to learn, and now this is what I'm available for. Thank you, Spirit. I'm here to create this with you. Show me my next step.
Yeah, and I've been leaning into that for sure. And it just feels, I guess it doesn't feel solidified yet, but I've definitely been making those shifts around getting clarity on what I'm not available for. And the creativity piece of it is so interesting because I'm really great at creating like a healthy way of looking at overcoming something difficult, if that makes sense. It's almost like a little bit of an avoidant. Like, I mean, I'm totally willing to be in the discomfort and the vulnerability and to move through it and to really develop great self-awareness around the experience. And I will always choose to turn it into something positive rather than just saying, no, that person is literally just a jerk. I mean, that's kind of like the shadow is like being clear on what I'm not available for. Like sometimes people just don't have good intentions. They just don't.
They don't. And in that space, it's instead of an either or, it gets an opportunity to be a both and. Like they're both a jerk and they also gave you a gift.
Right.
And neither of you are wrong, right? Like it's just, this is what happened. I get to make it mean what I want. You give the meaning to your life and to those situations. As we've been talking, like I feel your power rising like into your heart. And they want to offer this opportunity or invitation to you in this place of creating. There's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing that needs to be worked on before you can do something that you would love. You are exactly correct in this moment for everything that you want. And they're showing you like going over a waterfall. It's like it's time to take the plunge, to go over the falls. Let yourself like you get the sense that you're like backpedaling, like you see the falls are there and you want it, but you're like backpedaling, like, oh, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready yet. And they're like, you're ready. You just have to commit to really being in your power, like this power I feel in you. They want you to own it and they want you to go over the falls with it and let things like this. It's like the sense of like, as you go over the falls, things are going to fall off you that you're done with. Like, it's not a hard path that you have to work at. It's like you've done a lot of self inquiry. Now it's time to just let that fall away and know that you are exactly enough and correct in this moment to do the things you want to do. So you don't need to keep creating these other things that you're expanding energy on those things. Like you're using this beautiful, creative, potent power on things that aren't necessary right now for you to create. They want you to channel the just like brilliance of you into the thing that you really want. Stop putting out fires. Stop like letting your attention drift to this other side and go all in on what you want. That's where the ease and flow is.
Okay. And then it gets to be uncomfortable again.
Going over the falls is not necessarily comfortable, is it?
Yeah.
But it's wild and it can take you to a whole new world.
Yes. And I'm ready. I'm 45 years old and I'm just ready for that relaxed surrender, the flow. Yeah, just the receiving.
Yeah. And reclaiming. Like that's the word they're saying. It's time to reclaim this power that is yours.
Yeah.
So what are you taking away from our call today?
It feels like a nudge to continue on the path of taking more aligned action toward the thing that I really want to do, which is to speak and to be a published author. So I'm creating a lot of in-between steps to continue my service to people. And I guess it's a little bit of a need, but it's also because I enjoy it too. Maybe because I enjoy teaching. Maybe I subconsciously enjoy feeling needed, but not really needed, but just sort of, being a teacher of things and just kind of recognizing that I get to choose. And so I'm taking away more clarity on sort of like the big rocks. I think that was the 7 habits of highly effective people, but just putting my energy into the things that really matter. And then the other things can exist, but they just don't get that much energy.
Yeah. Yeah, really using that energy in the direction of what you want and choosing, right? You use that word choose. There's so much power in choosing. That's the thing that moves us along because we're always choosing. If we're not choosing what we want, we're choosing something else. So
That's
really being
true.
yeah, right? So really being intentional in your choice and using it like high power focus. Like this is what I'm choosing. This is what I'm choosing.
Yes, I see. I can see how sometimes I make choices from a place of lack of trust or scarcity, and that's not actually the truth of who I am. I actually am not naturally living in scarcity consciousness, but I can see when I tap into it, and I just don't need to.
Yeah, the way that I experience you like energetically today is really grounded, really supported, held, and powerful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that reflection.
Yeah. Does this feel like an okay place to land today?
It does.
Okay. Thank you for being here today and making your personal and spiritual growth a priority in your life. To learn more about connecting with your dreams and your intuition so that you can create a life full of possibilities, visit me at www.sarahnoble.com and see how we can create magic together. A big thank you from my heart to yours for making the planet a better place for us all.